patients have convulsions, or as nurses get paralyzed at the hospital, or as their own child gets damaged, most of them cannot admit to themselves that this is conscious and known. Last night I had a guest on, an investigative reporter, and he pointed out that ABC News reported on this in 2001. Congress released it in 2000. We covered it then, and even had Congressman Dan Burton on at the time. He found out his grandson was brain damaged, 2 years old, talking, healthy, bouncing on his knee, giggling, learning his ABCs, took third round of shots, had a convulsion, and couldn't talk anymore. He subpoenaed the records from the CDC. He found them having meetings years before. One meeting at a Methodist retreat that they rented out, and they were in there going, yeah, it's up several thousand percentage points, massive brain damaging, autoimmune responses. We've got to cover this up or the entire government will fall and we'll lose all credibility. And then in the minutes they say, but I do suggest you tell all your families do not take the shots. I've had state attorneys on. I had the state attorney on from Maryland 5 years ago, and they ordered, quote, 2,000 to go to the courthouse to be inoculated in public school. They'd, quote, be arrested. And I got him on, and I said, it's a hoax. There's no law. You got to take that shot. And he goes, you ought to be a lawyer. On the radio, he goes, you're right, I don't vaccinate my kids. Like, because you're smart, you should be one of them. Because I know a con job, then that makes me special. And then I go, hey, look at all these idiots. I'll just lie to them. Because my bosses at the state told me to tell people, you'll be arrested if you don't take the shot. And there on CNN, they showed dogs and police in riot gear and 2,000 youth with their parents. It was like 3,000 plus people total, and crying people saying, my other baby got sick. They're mainly black. My younger baby got sick from a shot. I don't want to do it, but I don't want them to arrest my other babies. And I was just desperately on the air, just wishing I had more affiliates, wishing I could reach more people, just to tell folks, hey, they're lying to you. And then you get the guy on who's on the news, and you say, you're threatening to arrest them for truancy, aren't you? Which they're truant when you kick them out for not taking the shot, when you have no authority to kick them out for being truant. And he goes, you ought to be a lawyer. You're right, and I don't vaccinate my kids. I'm just doing what the state tells me to do. Oh, so the state tells you go out and lie to people. You go out there and bamboozle them. Go out there and manipulate them through color of law. And again, I know I've got all this SOPA news and all this other world news, but I just veer back to the vaccines because I did that interview yesterday with that mother who they sent the CPS and state police after because she wouldn't vaccinate her child. And then I looked at the comments and the emails on the videos that are on YouTube now and from the nightly news last night, and it's military people all talking, going, yeah, we were tested for this genetic disorder, my wife and I, and they say it's impossible for our son to have it, but he has it, and it turns out that about 20 people just in my unit now have children with this. They made all the pregnant women, too, even if you were pregnant in the military, take the H1N1, which before 3 years ago, they never told pregnant women take any shot. But instead of, see, they're testing. Can they say, pregnant women, it's most important for you to take it, when the insert says pregnant women don't take it? See, it's all an exercise in craziness. Hey, let's see if they'll go through body scanners and let us stick our hands down their pants. First, for a year, we'll rub them on the outside. Then after that, we'll start going in the waistband. And then we'll start going in the pants and into the body with dirty gloves. Let's do it with Miss USA. They know what they're doing. It's dog training. It's absolutely breaking your will where you'll do whatever they want. So when they take your pension fund, take your bank account, devalue the dollar, jack up your water and power prices, you will just sit there feeling powerless and let them do it. Because the criminals have figured out they've already gone 1,000,000 miles, and they know you're pushing back, so they can warp 10 million ahead. It won't matter if we push back 10 million miles. They're still got 1,000,000 miles on us. So they're just bum rushing psychological warfare, exercising all this tyranny upon us to just try to totally overwhelm us and send us into catatonic learned helplessness. It's all right out of their psychological warfare manuals. But if you're conscious to this, you can turn it around. But we face a devastating situation in our society. I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to the other news and your calls. America is now the beta testing ground, along with England, and then it's rolled into Europe and the rest of it. You take California, where 4 months ago the governor signed a bill that they give your children inoculations without even telling you that they did it, but they get around the forced inoculation bit saying your 11 or 12-year-old gave them permission. They sit them in a brainwashing class, show them scary videos of people dying from papillomavirus that kills about 3,000 a year. The vaccine in the insert says it doesn't even protect you from it and actually causes problems. But, they don't tell the kids that. And they say, it's your right to have an abortion in the class. It's your right to go on Ritalin or Prozac, and we have school nurses that can get you with a government psychologist. This is on record. And it's your right to take these shots. And when they had the lady from the state on CNN, I played the clip yesterday, what did she say? She said, hey, your kids are using drugs, your kids are having sex, your kids are having abortions without you knowing. So we're going to give them shots without you knowing. That's just as outrageous as saying we're going to stick our hands down your pants. And she said it with a straight face. And even the CNN talking head said, excuse me? Even the host broke their matrix conditioning for a minute and snapped out of it and went, because obviously that person's a parent. I didn't look it up. I can tell the woman is. Middle-aged woman, reporter, anchor. She says, excuse me? The parents don't, you're saying it's crazy that they be told? And she's like, what? You mean the government's gonna stick their hands down my pants and put me in a microwave oven? You mean the TSA setting up checkpoints on the highway? You see, you've got to really let it sink in and just wake up to how crazy it is. I'm not the crazy guy on the radio, as the corporate media calls me, because I cover real news and get freaked out about real issues. And don't cover fluff and mindless garbage. I'm a normal person who the mind control doesn't work on. The only way it works on me is making me frustrated and angry, because once you're awake and once you've studied it, it's everywhere. I was talking to my wife last night because I was sitting, I got home about 8 o'clock. She was about to, we're about to go read stories, put the kids to bed, and there was some dinner leftovers there, and I was sitting there at the kitchen table eating, and I was watching on the iPad the nightly news that was just re-airing, as I taped it last night. It aired from 7 to 8, and it was restreaming. And she heard the interview with the investigative journalist, about all these brain-damaged children, and how he woke up because of his son, getting 9 shots in one day because they demanded it, and how he went from talking and giggling and laughing to, just not even talking, and explosive diarrhea for 4 years, and they wouldn't tell him why it was happening, and then he discovered ways to reverse it. And she looked at my children who were all sitting around, they were listening to it, and she said, see, that's why you're not vaccinated. But we've had to say no to the nurses and people that pressure us. That's why you're hardly ever sick, and that's why you're so healthy, and it's why, you're doing so well. And she looked at me and she said, you haven't watched television in years other than movies you watch. But she said, I don't watch any of the drama shows anymore. Because like I told you about 3 years ago, all of the women's shows, sitcoms, medical shows, CSI, she said almost every episode, there's a child molester or a child murderer or a terrorist who also doesn't vaccinate their children. And she said, my God, I just think about all these innocent people who are watching entertainment, not realizing it's brainwashing. I mean, think of how creepy it is that they're saying it's the law you've got to take vaccines. And they are lying to people and saying it is, and saying we'll shoot you up without consent. And doctors are calling the police on people. And the TV shows are saying you've got to be vaccinated, and the movies. and just everything. And you've got these adults, these doctors. I know a doctor here in town who's pro-vaccine and writes articles for the paper and everything. Known the doctor for years. And when I do run into her occasionally, she's friends of the family, you know, it's just disdain because I don't believe that I should take hundreds of shots and that I even question anything. And if you bring up to these people, well, look at all the nurses getting paralyzed and doctors getting sick from the shots. I mean, I can show you reports. I don't want to see them. And when you talk to these people that push this stuff, they never have friends. They get home at 6 or 7, and they turn on their favorite show, and their friend is the simulated hospital show with the queen bee women running everything, taking people's kids on the show and forcing vaccines on people. And that government-produced mind control is their family and is their world. And they take this synthetic, piped-in propaganda, and they go out and then take it to us in the real world, simulating it on us. They're in trances. Their brainwaves are right at, this is now coming out, right at sleep level. The general public is literally a zombie. They are in a trance. And these sitcoms and dramas all attack Ron Paul with subliminals and other things. And so you wonder why the general public can't wake up. You're either awake or you aren't, because they're on fluoride. They're on all these other chemicals. There's bisphenol A, estrogen mimickers. It's in everything. They're watching TV an average of 4.5 hours a day. The youth are basically already in the matrix, doing nothing but playing video games and acting trendy. They don't even have real personalities now. The language is shrinking to where now the average youth, even if they make decent grades, cannot really talk, or they talk in shorthand. You know, best friend ever, K, jibble dribble. They're reducing the language. Everyone's plugged in. It's totally insane. The men are watching sports. The cancer rates are exploding. The curse of the New World Order is upon us. And again, they expected parents as the carnage and the brain damage and the death accelerated. They expected parents to get angry. And they're wargaming right now, how to deal with it, how to spin it. And so now that record numbers aren't taking vaccines, you see the signs, the billboards, the people pressuring you at Walgreens and CVS to get your shot, the brainwashing, the PSAs, all the scaremongering. It's all an attempt, as you watch people dying and getting neurological disorders all around you, as you watch America turn into this diseased, cursed system. They're trying to manage the eugenics operation. Okay, I'm going to get into Ron Paul filing suit on somebody. SOPA, the Iran situation, straight ahead. There are limitless ways to go into business. All right, I haven't even gotten into most of the news. We told you this was coming because Homeland Security said they would do it. But the body scanners, naked body scanners mounted on power poles that blast you with high-powered radiation, are going in New York and other areas. They're getting mobile vans, mobile trucks. Checkpoints are now popping up everywhere. And again, on the local newscast, you pull up, because you see the video, and the state police are told, be crazed. They're rock-ready Marine Corps stance. They got their Marine Corps hats on. You know, their drill sergeant hats. They're bugging their eyes out. We're out here on the